Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. Now, following on from the previous video I done in regards to my rather low opinion of the TV series The Haunting of Hill House. Oh, I'm still getting tired thinking about it. Yeah. But anyway, in this video, I'd like to talk to you on a more positive note, and in terms of talking about my all-time favourite horror anthology movie, and that movie is Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, as I say, my all-time favourite horror anthology movie from 1972. I have watched this movie, I don't know how many times. First watched it as a kid, in the early 70s on the late night telly, and watched it countless times since when it's been shown on television. Had to get the Blu-ray, had it on DVD. Then when the Blu-ray came out a few years ago, I just had to get it. Now, I want to talk a little bit at length about this movie because I love this movie so much, it's just fantastic. Every story in that, is just on the money. If you haven't seen Tales from the Crypt, I'll just give you an idea, of this movie. So it's basically about 5 strangers who go with a tourist group to view old caves. Now, separated from the main group, they find themselves in a room with the mysterious crypt keeper, played by Sir Ralph Richardson, who details how each of the strangers will die. Oh yeah, fantastic movie, guys. Yeah, I mean, I no doubt I'll be putting this on again in a couple of weeks and watching it, especially coming near Halloween. This is one of my favourite Halloween movies to watch, fantastic movie. And my favourite, I mean, it's very difficult to pick a specific story, but I have to say about the piece of cushion one, not only is that a very horrific story, it's a very sad story as well. He's basically plays a part of this old man called Grimsdyke and that, and I don't want to go on too much about it, but it's very sad in that, because like he's got this nasty piece of work across the road living from this neighbour and that, and he takes exception to everything what Grimsdyke does and that, he has children in his house and that, he's kind to them and that, and he's just an old man like who wants a bit of company and that, and he's just a nasty piece of work, this neighbour and that, and what he does, he drives the poor Grimsdyke to suicide and that. Yeah, but as I don't want to go on too much about what happens, but yeah, that must be it. Out of the stories in this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories in this. That is it. That is a really touching story. It mixes the elements of Python, the elements of pathos well with the horror elements. That story is called Poetic Justice. Now I want to get on to the other stories in this excellent movie now, guys. And the first story is All Through the House, starring Joan Collins, who, if you watch the movie, you know what I'm going to say. It's basically about, like, she kills her husband on Christmas Eve and that, and it's this, it comes on the radio, the Christmas carols are on the radio, and all of a sudden you get this news report saying for the local neighbourhood to be wary because there's this escaped lunatic, from the local loony bin, and he's dressed in a Santa Claus outfit and that, but I don't want to go on too much about it. But that's a great way to open the movie and that, I love the Christmas atmosphere as well. Now I love me Christmas horror movies and that, and this one stays in my memory as the best, albeit it's a short one. It's part of an anthology. This stays in my memory as the most memorable Christmas horror story, ever. And if you're a fan of Tales from the Crypt, you'll know that in the American series they also repeated this story. They made it a little bit more like horrific, like a little bit more sort of like in your face and that, and the face on the Santa Claus was really really creepy and that. But anyway, getting back to this, great way to start the movie. And Joan Collins and that, she's really on the money in this and that, as the murderous wife and that, really cold hearted and that, great story. All Through the House, taken of course from the original story in the old EC comics from the 1950s. Fantastic. Oh, the atmosphere, mixing the Christmas atmosphere with the horrific elements, really on the money, the writers of that. And then you've got the other story starring Ian Henry, and that is called Reflection of Death, which basically plays a character of Carl Maitland, who abandons his family to be with Susan Blake, played by Angela Grant. Now, after they drive off together, they are involved in a car accident, Now he wakes up in the wrecked car and attempts to hitchhike home, but no one will stop for him. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a very dark episode. That, you know, very dark story, and that, you know, Ian Henry really on the money in this and that, you know, the way to repeat the car crash as well, and that, you know, he said look out and that, you know, and it's sort of like and then he comes back from the dead basically. But again, I don't want to go on too much about it in case you haven't seen it. Yeah. So there you go. That's the one with Ian Henry. That's the reflection of death. I've touched on the Peter Cushing one, you know, where he plays the poor old man Grimsdyke, yeah. So going to move on now to Wish You Were Here. Oh, again, another terrifying story. What's the names in this? Richard Green, whom you remember, he played in Robin Hood in the old TV series and that, you know, and he plays a guy here who he's having trouble with his finances and that, you know, he's got like a lot of bills and that, you know, and he's sort of like, he gets this Chinese figurine and that, you know, and he makes sort of like, he wants to sort of like get out of his pecuniosity, you know, his poverty and that, you know, and he uses this Chinese figurine to sort of like lift them out of the situation. But it runs along the lines of the old W. Jacobs story, The Monkey's Paw, where, you know, be careful what you wish for. And that certainly applies in this episode, guys, and that, you know, yeah. But a very horrific ending. I mean, I don't want to go on too much about it. If you haven't seen the movie, I'll let you see for yourself. But those of you familiar with it will know exactly what I mean, yeah. Stays in your mind and that, you know, all really horrific and that, you know, yeah. But it reinforces the old adage, be careful what you wish for, yeah. And The Monkey's Paw, the actual story, The Monkey's Paw, is actually touched on in this story. I think it's his wife that mentions this and that, yeah. Have you heard the story of The Monkey's Paw and that, you know? Oh, I love those type of stories where you have three wishes and that, and it goes wrong and that, you know. But yeah, Richard Green's really on the money in this one and that, you know, he really is, yeah. That's Wish You Were Here, yeah. Wishing for a fortune with disastrous results, yeah. Now, the last story I'd like to talk about in Tales from the Crypt are, again, I could sit here all afternoon uttering superlatives, you know, about this story and that, you know, just as I could with the other ones. And it is basically called Blind Alleys. Now, this is about an ex-sergeant major William Rogers, played by Nigel Patrick. He takes over this home for the blind and that, you know, and right from day one, he's a real, you should have said the word, a real B. You know, he sits there with a grand, you know, this feast and that, talking into this big dinner, and the poor blind man comes into his room and that, you know, played by Patrick McGee, another very fine actor, Patrick McGee, yeah, and he looks at him, you know, scoffing this meal and that, and, you know, so, oh, you give us a slop. Oh, some really iconic moments in this, guys, you know, stay in your mind and that, you know, and he's sort of like, this Sergeant Major is very officious and that, you know, he's very arrogant and that, you know, very haughty. And he said, like, I've dealt with all sorts of people. He said, you know, I've been in the army, you know, and, you know, how to handle different kinds of people. Or the way he says it and that, you know, really, you know, go away, like, bugger off and that, you know, yeah, I'm the boss and that, you know. And he has this big Alsatian dog with him, you know, this huge Alsatian dog, you know, with him, like, you know, he takes over the job in the blind man's home and that, you know. And, yeah, he does all these financial cuts and that, you know, excuse me. He does all these financial cuts to the detriment of the poor blind residents and that, you know. Well, of course, in the end, like, you know, they can't stand for it any longer, yeah. But I don't want to go on too much about it, what happens. I'll let you see this for yourself and that, you know. But, oh, yeah, fantastic stories, yeah. And, you know, me all-time, I mean, I love horror anthology movies, and I could sit here and roll off more what's impressed me over the years and that, you know, going back to when I first started watching them on late night TV on a Friday night and that, you know, yeah. You get the likes of Beyond the Grave on Vault of Horror, and this one always seems to be shown more than any. I remember watching this in the Christmas of 1976, yeah. Oh, and why, boy, God, was I impressed by this movie and that, you know, yeah. It's a good movie to watch near Christmas and that, you know, it really gets you in the mood, especially the Joan Collins story about the crazed Santa Claus and that, yeah. But getting back to that last story about and what they do, I've got to say this about the contraption, what they do when they sort of like the exact revenge on the arrogant Sergeant Major. What all the blind residents do, they build this thing, this sort of like a passageway, and they stuff all razor blades in it and that, you know, and oh God, yeah. And then of course they coax his dog, Sergeant Major's dog, they collect all the slops off the dinner. and he encouraged it, and he put it in this room, and that lock it in this room, and then they capture the sergeant major, drag him, and he lock him in this cell and that, you know, and then what happens afterwards? I mean, I don't want to give it away, but by God, do they get their revenge on this arrogant son of a bitch sergeant major in this? Oh, a fantastic way to round off this excellent movie, this flawless and horror anthology movie. Yeah, the stories, as I say, they're just perfect. There's not one bad story. You know, I can honestly say I enjoyed. Usually, when you're watching a horror anthology movie, you might get one particularly, substandard story. What you think, oh, that wasn't as good. But this one, please, an exception, guys. Yeah, watch this movie, and I hope, like Second Sight, they release special editions of what's the name? The other Amicus anthologies, Asylum and The House That Dripped Blood. Fingers crossed they might do the same with Tales from the Crypt, guys. Yeah, put some juicy special features in and that, because this is a pretty bare bones release, as you can see. That's all there is in the way of special features. Yeah, absolutely love Tales from the Crypt. And again, getting back to the episode of Peter Cushing, very, very sad, you know, Arthur Grimsdyke and that, you know, really sad, you know. I think that was one of Peter Cushing's finest performances, you know, when he played that poor old man and that horrible neighbour across the road and that, you know, yeah. Oh, yeah. But anyway, that's me, that's all me superlatives for now about Tales from the Crypt, 1972, yeah. Ralph Richardson does a fantastic job as well in the framing story. He's the crypt keeper, and you know, when they're in the cemetery, the five main protagonists, and they get lost in that, and they're in this crypt and that, you know, and they're locked in and that, you know, and then like he looks at them and that, you know, and you know, you were going to, and then the story unfolds and that, you know, oh, pure horror cinematic magic, guys. Tales from the Crypt, yeah, fantastic job, great cast and all. Joan Collins, you know, Peter Cushing, you know, Nigel Patrick and that, you know, yeah. I say I could sit here all afternoon spouting superlatives about this. Oh, fantastic horror anthology from 1972. Yeah, Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, this is in my top 5 movies of the rewatchability. Go back to it again and again. Never get tired of it. Never get bored with it. All on the money. You know, flawless performances, fantastic stories, great twist endings. If you haven't seen Tales from the Crypt 1972, you must. If you're a horror fan, you love horror anthology movies. If you haven't got this movie in your collection, why isn't this in your collection? It's the king of horror anthology movies for me. I've seen many in my time, got loads in my collection, but this is number 1. Tales from the Crypt from 1972. Okay, guys. Get a drink of water, my throat's dry, yeah, we're all superlatives, yeah. Do you like Tales from the Crypt? Leave your comments down below. What's your favourite story? Do you like all the stories like the same, yeah? Yeah, what's your most memorable moments? What's your most memorable moments? Yeah, what was the episode that scared you most? Yeah, leave your comments down below. I could talk forever about horror anthology movies, and in particular, Tales from the Crypt. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, that's it for now. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, I say love Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, fantastic. One of the best horror anthology movies ever made. Yeah, I say if you like the video, please feel free to comment, share, subscribe. Yeah. And as I say, no doubt I'll be putting this on again as Halloween approaches and that, you know, yeah, and probably Christmas time as well for the Joan Collins episode with the Father Christmas, yeah. Okay, guys, well that's it for now, yeah. Hope you're all, you're all keeping well, stay safe and sticking to the rules and that, you know, we're going to get through these times, yeah. We've got to, yeah. There will be light at the end of the tunnel. We just got to be patient and, you know, as I say, adhere to the rules, yeah. Okay, all right, guys. See you next time. Stay safe now.